CNET, are you guys good? Okay, it's been I'm a little out of practice.
Well,
Staff good? Council? Okay. All right, I'll call to order this College Township regular meeting for Thursday, March 21st at 7 p.m. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any public open discussion tonight? And this is for items that are not on the agenda. Anybody online?
Two people just joined, you might want to ask again.
Okay. Let's do another call for any public open discussion for items not on tonight's agenda.
No.
Okay. All right, any new agenda items, council members? Special presentation, SP1 Planning Commission Annual Update. Our chair, Ray Forziak.
Well, thank you for having me. The annual report was put together by the staff, and Sharon did a great job of putting it together. It's pretty all-inclusive of everything that we've done. So it's not something that I will read to you tonight, because that would take too long. I know Rich would appreciate it, but it's
At my age.
so we'll do that. What I do want to do is highlight a few things on it. Is if you were to take a look at section 3 in the plans, it'll go through and it'll discuss a lot of the plans that we went through the entire year, and what was the outcome of them. That would give you a little bit of an update to go from there and really get a feeling for it. And then there's meeting highlights in there, and they're pretty explanatory on there as well. It does give the bios of people that's on there, that's on the Planning Commission. Probably the two things that I think that really stand out more than anything is when we started to make some changes in the PRBD, where we did some changes there to allow different type of growth in that area with changing some of the ordinance there. But also we really got involved with DPZ, which we'll be seeing here shortly again next week on Tuesday. But we had charrettes, and that allowed some stakeholders to come in, give us feedback as to what their thoughts were with regards to our Dale Summit plan and revitalization. So when you look at it, there's quite a few highlights that if you looked at it, there's some GIS renderings and things as to what could occur there. But really, I think the biggest thing is as towards we got to the end of the year, we really did a lot of things that were leading into 2024. And really, if you take a look at it, we're still working on that Dale Summit revitalization plan and finalizing that. That will be coming up here shortly, but we did jump on something else which started at the end of the year, which was the workforce housing ordinance, and taking a look at that. I do realize that you charged us to have that done by the end of March. I think the staff and the Planning Commission agreed with the last meeting we had, which was this week. There was a few changes there that we felt that it should come back one more time just to take a final look at it. But I will say we spent some intensive time looking at it line by line, going through it, truly trying to take a look at that ordinance and say, hey, what can we do that will actually build incentives, number one, and two, we took a look at the equity and the inclusionary aspects of workforce housing ordinance and what that entailed. So I think the 2023 wrapped up, but it led into 2024 and really gave us a springboard to working towards some of those projects there. So I'll open it up, I guess. Is there any questions as to it? Hopefully you got a chance to read the report. No questions?
Questions?
No real questions. We've been spending some more quality time with planning commissions.
Yeah.
I think that has helped through that. The reports that we've been getting as part of our packets have been good, and Matt's been adding a little humor to our
I hear
reports
that.
as well.
I hear that. I know Matt from, in different capacity too, so he can bring life to the party. So I will just say, put it that way and leave it at that. I do want to say, and as a compliment again, through the fourth quarter or the end of 2023, one of the things that we talked about as a planning commission and to the council is when you take a look at the remand letters and the structure of those, could there be something done there that would help us in that case? And I do want to say that your latest remand letters and stuff like that really, I think, helped us maintain a structure and a flow and be able to phase in our work on that workforce housing ordinance. And I think that was a big thing. And I think if you were to ask the staff, I think they would agree with that as well. So it was very beneficial. And I think that communication, again, from a joint meeting, really made a difference. So.
Comments? Comments?
Yeah.
Oh, comments?
Questions and comments all in one.
Question and comments, okay, thank you. No, I want to say thank you, and I want to especially say thank you to the Planning Commission for the joint work sessions that we've had in the last year. It was my first year on council, and so I learned a lot this year, and I learned a lot from watching the work that you do, both in your meetings and then coming to, you know, having your reps here. And it's really great to see everything written out. Sharon did a great job on the report, and it's a lot of work, and it's impressive work. And it was a real evolution over the last year. And I really appreciate seeing that and seeing how people can work collaboratively over some pretty, you know, sometimes some challenging issues. So I really want to say thank you and appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the work ahead with Dale Summit too. So
I think working together with council on that, some of the things we've got coming ahead of us, there's a lot we can do to do economic growth within our township, as well as allow for mixed uses and different uses, and coming up with a hybrid code and doing all kinds of things with form-based. And I think that's going to really bring us forward going forward. And some of the things I try to influence on some of the council members or commission members is that it's not just this year or next year. You know, we've got to be looking at, when we put things together, I always try to envision things. What's it going to look like 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now? I'm not going to be around for that, but I can't haunt you that long, Rich. Really, I can't. No, wait, I should. Yeah, my dad did live to 97, so there might be that possibility. But no, really, it's there's so much to it. Maybe I'll share something that's outside of that, but I most recently had another opportunity to go to a Focus Central Pennsylvania conference. And one of the things that's impressive in that area there is their ability to drive economic growth and bring industry in and do different things and revitalize. And Union County and Montour County do a lot of different things. They have a division called Drive out there as well. And, you know, I truly believe that I think we're on the cusp of going in that direction. And I think some things with the IDA, Industrial Development Authority, that we have here can be that springboard like Drive over there. And I think that can help springboard some things to get us where we need to go in the future. And not just a year, 2 years down the road, but 5, 10, 15 years down the road.
Okay. Well, with that inspirational closing, does anybody have any more comments? Thanks, Ray.
Okay,
Yeah.
we look forward to next Tuesday. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
there's snacks.
Yeah, there's food.
There's snacks.
There's always food, too. Yeah.
That's how we got Eric.
Yeah. That's how we get full council, yeah. Okay, moving on. Plans. And we have one, Lindsay.
Yes, thank you. We have, just have a short story map for you to go through. This is the Maxwell Struble Road Storage replot and land development proposal. This plan has a few parts. The first is a replot plan. If you can recall, early last year, Mr. Maxwell came in for a development of regional impact, So he was able to rezone a portion of his forested property adjacent to his business, which was zoned general industrial. And throughout the DRI process, it was approved that he was able to rezone about 3 acres of his property from forest to general commercial. And this replot, what it's doing is, if you see the blue line around his property there, and then if you scroll down, he's just adding the property to be consistent with the zoning line. So if you scroll down a little bit more, Jen.
Oh, this much?
The next map, yeah.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Yeah, so you can see there, our zoning map, it kind of has the L shape. We allowed that forest buffer to remain for the folks, the residents who are there in the R1. And then we have the general industrial zoning expansion that you see. So that is the reason for the replot, so you can move forward. And then Maxwell Struble Road storage site. This is the existing conditions of the plan. And what he plans to do next, go ahead, Jen, is add about a 3,500 square foot building to his property, expanding his business. The portion of this property is in the regional growth boundary. As you see on the plans, one additional EDU is recommended by UAJA, and that's allowable because this part is within the regional growth boundary. Go ahead, Jen. We have the landscape plan here. We kept that buffer rezoned to forest because there were some existing trees there. They want to plan to keep a lot of those existing trees, but add an earthen berm along so it can better buffer his business from the residents' view. Go ahead, Jen. Sidewalks. So along with this request, Mr. Maxwell is requesting he pay a fee in lieu of sidewalks. If you see here, these are the existing sidewalks around the site. And in pink, if you go down, Jen.
Okay. This one?
Yeah.
Hey, Jen, before you go, can you
Okay.
orient us with which way we're looking
Sure.
with Struble? there?
Yeah, so Struble is, yeah, there you go, Jen. That, go ahead the whole way up.
Okay.
So Struble is there. Yep,
Okay.
keep going. And then we have First Avenue and J Lane. And then you see that where the mouse is, you can see that gap
Go get that little.
of where there is no sidewalk. Sorry, I don't have your pointer. So knowing that we have the pedestrian facilities master plan, one of the goals is to close those gaps. So this is an opportunity to do that here. Go ahead and scroll down, Jen. It's just another picture of the proposed development site. And getting into sidewalks. Required sidewalk is along, it's about 450 feet or 480 feet of sidewalk that is being proposed or being actually required on Maxwell's side of the property. His request is, rather than build that sidewalk on that side of the property, he wants to pay a fee in lieu, knowing that in the next 3 to 5 years, the township will be doing some stormwater maintenance along Struble Road. So if the sidewalk were to go in, and we did the stormwater, the chances would be.
Yeah, most likely they would have to be ripped out to put the stormwater in. Right now, in 2024, we're looking at doing from the railroad up to Clyde Avenue. That hasn't been started yet, but we'll be designing and hopefully constructing a portion of that this year. And then it's over the next 2 to 3 years after 2024, we'll continue extending it up. Eventually, the stormwater system would go all the way up to First Avenue. And if you've ever been on Struble Road during a big storm, that water is actually running across the road. There is no stormwater anywhere along Struble Road. It runs down the curb line, and it's full depth at the curb line and makes it out to the center line of the road. And extreme storms actually goes across the road. And it's been like that forever, but we're looking at trying to do something with that. Luckily, it hasn't happened over the, like a really cold period where you get a bunch of ice on the road. But anyhow, at some point in the next, as Lindsay said, the next 3 to 4 years, we will be up in that area putting in a 36-inch diameter pipe. I'm just throwing that out, it hasn't been sized yet, but it's gonna be a big pipe. So as part of that, no doubt, if there's a sidewalk there, it's coming out, and then we would be putting it back in. So basically, that sidewalk would be getting done twice. So what they're proposing is to give us fee in lieu. One of the things we could look at is sidewalk on the other side of Struble Road. That would make the connection, if you go back up to that one drawing with all the pink on it, that would actually connect that there at First Avenue and then all the way up to J Lane. So you'd actually have a loop. Now, there's some issues with that. There's some construction out in the right-of-way from some of the properties. We might have to at least get grading easements to do that work. So it's not a slam dunk on that side either. And there's actually a significant swale on that side, but it wouldn't be nearly as large of a pipe. I'm going to show, do you have those photos?
Yeah, Jen, there are some photos, if you could scroll down.
Yeah.
So this is the opposite side of the street where,
That photo on the left is actually looking down J Lane, and you can see you're looking right into a gas line marker right in the middle of where the sidewalk, that would extend out towards where the photograph was being taken from. The next photo over on the right is actually looking up to J Lane. That truck is coming out on J Lane, and you can see there's a ditch there. It looks like the right-of-way there probably goes all the way back to where that telephone pole or utility pole is. But you can also see there's quite a few utilities going underground at that pole. That's what those markers going down the pole are. Next slide, Jen. I think we have one more, yeah. And this is actually looking down towards First Avenue. There's another pole, and then you can see on below it, those next two photos show a fence that's probably out in the right-of-way. That's something I think we could take a look at. Can we put that sidewalk in? Can we do it within the right-of-way? Do we have to obtain easements? Easements may be a little bit difficult. These people are used to not needing to shovel sidewalks in the winter. But once this sidewalk would go in, it would be the homeowner's responsibility. So there's difficulties on this side too.
so if you continue to scroll down, Jen, yeah. This map is from our pedestrian facilities master plan. And if you can see there along Struble Road, it is a future secondary pedestrian facility that we were planning for right there. So it's consistent with this map. And then go ahead down. It did score a 17 on our prioritization matrix that we have within the pedestrian facilities master plan. And the numbers for the fee in lieu, I believe, are the numbers that would cover that 480 feet of sidewalk on the Maxwell side of the road. The side of the road that we just showed the pictures is a little bit longer. So the linear feet are a little bit different with that calculation. So Mark Toretti is also here. He's the project manager, so I'm sure if you have any questions, he'd be able to answer more for you.
Mark, you want to step up, or?
Yeah, just Lindsay and Dawn did a great job going over that. I think like regarding the sidewalks, I think they explained that pretty well as far as what needs to occur there. Regarding the site, like I said, when he got this rezoned, he was looking at that for storage site, and that's what's being proposed. We're trying to keep also, there's existing forest zone buffer in between the residential zones that we're keeping. And that was part, that was discussed with the residents whenever we going through that rezoning. And also part of it with the sidewalk is we'd be losing, I think, about 6 or 7 of those trees if we put the sidewalk on our side right now on there. We have a stormwater management basin that takes care of the proposed gravel areas, and that's down near the entrance. And there aren't any new utilities coming in, so it's relatively simple site with regards to what's being proposed. And like I said, the sidewalk fee and loop is kind of the one issue that we had to get request that, so.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Toretti or the staff? Susan?
So if I'm understanding this correctly, in terms of the sidewalk, so on the Maxwell side of Struble, there are no sidewalks in that
Correct.
vicinity. And
No.
the stormwater system will go through on that side.
Correct.
And so, I mean, I'm repeating you, but to put a sidewalk in now means digging it back up again. And also, if the
In all
sidewalk
likelihood, yes.
if the sidewalk were to go on that side, it would be just that sidewalk limited to that. There's no continuous sidewalk.
If you would want to use it and you're walking the rest of the
Right.
loop there,
You
you're
cross.
crossing the road twice.
Right, so this actually closes the loop for the pedestrians, and right now, there are probably pedestrians walking along that side of the road without sidewalks.
Most
Rather
likely,
than going,
yes.
yeah. So, okay. And I'm not really clear on the footage, the feet. So the sidewalk that would be, if it were to go on the other side, on the J Lane side, that would cross that entire span. So that would connect the two
Yeah, they're
roads.
responsible for
Okay.
480 feet, but between First Avenue and J Lane,
Okay.
it's like 600 feet. So if we were to do it on that side, there may be an issue where the township would be doing some themselves.
Okay. So about maybe 100, 150, 200.
Something like
Okay.
that,
Okay.
less than 200.
Okay, thank you.
Rich?
No, I like the approach being taken. It seems like we have work to do on both sides of the road. And let's use the money at the appropriate time for the appropriate things.
Tracy? Yeah, I mean, I just, I like I'm in favor of the fee and lieu because we talk about connectivity and really the connectivity is on the other side of the road and my perspective, so this kind of leaves the option open for us to develop it over there, I think. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Staff?
I guess I would point out is that fee in lieu is not absolutely pinned to that location. So if something else comes up in the meantime that makes a lot of sense, we could use that money towards another project.
Good point.
Okay. And that's a fair price?
Yes.
Yeah, we updated the fee schedule this year to ensure that the fee in lieu cost is consistent with what's happening today, and they use those new numbers, so they're good shape.
Okay. Well, somebody wants to take a stab at the motion.
Okay. Taking a look. So I'll make a motion to approve the Maxwell Struble Road Storage Site preliminary final land development plan dated January 16th, 2024, and last revised February 29th, 2024, subject to the following conditions. 1, within 90 days from the date of approval by council, all conditions must be satisfied, final signatures must be obtained, and the plan must be recorded with the Center County Recorder of Deeds Office. Failure to meet the 90-day recordation time requirement will render the plan null and void. 2, pay all outstanding review fees. 3, address to the satisfaction of the township engineer any outstanding plan review comments. 4, fully comply with College Township Code Section 180-12. 5, post surety as approved by the township engineer prior to recordation. 6, provide proof of NPDES approval. 7, Planning Commission recommends the consideration of adding a filtration system to the on-site stormwater system. 8, Planning Commission recommends approval of the sidewalk fee in lieu request in the amount of $28,545, for future construction of approximately 448 lineal feet of sidewalk in the Struble Road right-of-way adjacent to the site. And 9, all conditions must be accepted in writing within 7 days from the date of the conditional approval letter from the township engineer.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And we have none opposed. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, moving on to reports. Manager's report.
Yeah, I get my opportunity to be the assistant manager report, and it's a pretty light one, so I really don't have anything specific to touch on unless there were questions.
Questions for the assistant township manager? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to COG Regional County and Liaison Reports. Who wants to go first? Tracy, you want to go?
We did not have a meeting this month.
Okay. Rich?
We did.
Yes.
March 14th, Finance Committee met. We reviewed the capital improvement plan update with information from the Facilities Committee and just how we're going to tackle that moving forward. Just to reiterate once again the importance of the capital improvement plan. That's our first step in the budgeting process. Sets the big ticket items out there on a ledge to determine priorities and whatnot. So please pay attention to those in your individual committees. We spent a lot of time on the code agency vehicle purchase for various elements. The biggest reason that we really spent a lot of discussion was just good process, determining how something like that should flow through. The code is a different animal than most of the other agencies because that's fee driven. Pays for those type of stuff, but we still have the fiduciary duty for those, and we want to see that those continue to follow good process regardless. The other item you'll be seeing at general forum is a budget amendment to get rid of all the bad Class B aqueous film forming foam. We are this Alpha is the repository for the county, and they're getting rid of it on behalf of all the county, and they'll be reimbursed by the partners in that. Finally, we culminated several discussions about the annual budget timeline. I won't steal my own thunder. You'll be getting an education piece at Monday's general forum. Getting any questions?
Questions for Rich? Okay.
Public safety was canceled this month, and Rich touched on the code budget amendment request, and so that came through as an urgent request to move that to the Finance Committee, so worked with Rich and Mr. Long on that. So I think if you have any questions, we can follow up on that. And then the College Township Industrial Development Authority met yesterday. We had a presentation from Ben Franklin Technology Partners, the Central Regional Director, Todd Erdley. So he is one of the economic development partners along with CBICC, who are working closely with Carrie on building a network and really growing economic development partnerships within the region. So it was a great presentation. And Lindsay gave us a great presentation on the workforce housing ordinance and the work that the Planning Commission is doing, as well as Dale Summit. And then the authority is doing great work, and they're really becoming quite an organization in terms of structure and process. And so a couple of other recommendations, motions to approve a resolution to be the applicant for the DCED Business in Our Sites grant, and also they just approved the resolution for an investment policy. So a lot more process being baked in. Oh, and I also attended the Women's Community Diversity Group Luncheon. And we talked about mentoring, especially for women in professional settings. So attended on behalf of council.
Okay, cool.
Mr. Chair, alibi for public safety and finance. I took it that you were gonna see at a general forum, but you're not. The resolution that we came up with is they came seeking 7 vehicles and needed $71,000 more, and they were seeking a budget amendment. And we pushed back and said, you have money now that you could do 5, do it, and then come back and use good process and get to talk about the other 2.
Okay.
So you won't see anything from that general forum. That was already baked into the 2024 budget.
Okay, yeah, I was a little surprised because I didn't remember seeing that come through on executive. Okay, yeah, so I had an executive meeting, which really coincided with what was going on at Climate Action Sustainability, which the main effort was to, Climate Action Sustainability Committee, we recommended the approval of the refuse and recycling request for proposal from Berg Myers. And then executive moved that on, and we'll be seeing that in the general forum to go ahead and vote on that. Spring Creek Watershed Commission, we do have this hung on our website. They're having that State of the Watershed meeting. The RSVP for that is tomorrow, the 22nd, and the meeting is going to be held on the 28th, just as a reminder there. And then I did send out an email, just an update, a couple bullet points on the Executive Director Search Committee. I also had to give that updated executive, so, but yeah, that's moving right along. Any questions for me? Okay, and we will move on to staff PC and other committee reports. Do we get 2 PC reports?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Right.
Unfortunately, Matt's not here, so I'm on the joke, and I'm not his policeman. So I'll just leave it at that. We had a meeting on Tuesday. We looked at, and I think Matt sent a report, it's the Penn State indoor practice. Yeah, it's really a Penn State outdoor practice facility next to Jeffrey Fields, which will have a air-supported bubble. The bubble will go up in the fall, take it down in the spring. They will improve it. It will be a practice facility for the soccer teams. We were told that it will not have any NCAA games there. It's really a practice facility. We don't know if summer camps will use it or not, but the recommendation that the Planning Commission did make to council was for us to send it to you for your approval. Penn State did send quite a few things. This is phase 1 of 2-phase project for that part of the sports complexes. So you will be seeing another phase of this coming in for additional parking and some other parking changes that equate to the soccer fields and also Beaver Stadium. Does anybody have any questions concerning that? Okay. The second thing that we looked at was the ingress and egress that's in College Township for the Center Hills Country Club that are looking at putting an aquatic center, tennis courts, and pickleball courts up off of the Canterbury Crossing subdivision. We had quite a few homeowners that were there. There were concerns about traffic since that road is now complete, coming all the way to the middle school. So traffic count has picked up in that area. We only looked at the private entrance into where they want to put all the improvements that will be sitting in the borough of State College. So the ingress and egress that we looked at, it's all within the township norms. Don had gone out there. There will be some site work done. There will be some utility work done. We made a recommendation to send that on to council to look. However, we can't approve the overall project because the borough has to. The borough has two slices at this. There were a lot of questions about noise, lighting, those type of things. That's in the borough, so that's gonna be addressed by the borough. And once the borough makes their decision, then that's probably when staff will bring it into you for approval. We don't know what the borough will be doing. Any questions on that?
So was it College Township residents that
It
are,
was College Township residents.
that are concerned about the noise and the lighting and all that?
Because Canterbury Crossing
Yeah,
backs up to where they want to put, and it's a private road. We will have a street light out where it connects to our township road. And it's a 25-foot cartway or 24-foot cartway. And we do not have responsibility for maintenance on that. The last thing that we looked at was, as Ray already mentioned, we finally completed our task for the workforce housing. We're gonna take another look at that at our next meeting. Staff has done a a lot of work on that. They did a great job. Lindsay should be congratulated for all the work she put in on that.
Thanks.
And I think, once we see the final package, I think council will be happy with, what we did on that. That's all I have.
okay.
Any questions?
Questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay. DEIB.
Mr. Chair, before we move on to that, I did want to acknowledge Parks and Recreation Committee, a written report was submitted. If there were any questions, Mr. Schulte is online as well.
Is there any questions for Mr. Schulte?
I have none.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate that, thanks. In terms of DEIB, I'm sure it was acknowledged at the last meeting, we are now in the middle of Ramadan, but beyond that, I have nothing to report tonight.
Council, any DEIB? Okay. We will move on then to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of CA1A, which is the March 7th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. CA2A is the invitation from the Clearwater Conservancy for a site tour on April 25th, 2024. B is the letter from Hopacre Engineering dated March 11th, 2024 regarding a time extension for Winfield Heights Phase 2 to June 30th, 2024. C is an email from Dan Materna dated March 12th, 2024 regarding casino. CA3 are action items, approval of the following. A letter of support, the District at Dale Summit Business and Our Sites application, and B, proposed 2024 pay range modifications. Do any members of council wish to pull any items for discussion? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion to approve the consent agenda?
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, none opposed. Moving on then. No old business tonight. We'll move on to new business number 1, which is the retention bonus policy, policy P-020. Mr. Bloom.
Yeah, just briefly, as Adam covered in his memo, this is the result of obviously kind of a challenging labor market at the time being, and a recognition of trying to retain our good staff that we have. Just what Adam needed is tools in the toolbox, essentially. To provide him opportunities that if an issue comes to pass where we need to provide retention bonuses, that he has the latitude to start that process with council's concurrence. But again, it was just providing him an opportunity to have another option if so needed for retention purposes of staff here within the township. Unless council wishes, I can go into a little bit more detail on the policy itself, but I'm happy to take questions otherwise.
All right, does anyone want Mike to pontificate on detail? We can.
Bless you.
Careful what you wish for.
All right, questions for staff and Mike on the policy? Rich, any questions or comments?
No, I think Mike said it, it's just another tool in the tool bag to keep our valuable staff. And I trusted the manager's discretion in using it appropriately.
Tracy?
No comments.
Susan?
The only thing I wanted to point out, I know it's a matter of public record, but the township manager is required to consult with College Township Council prior to the approval of the bonuses. So it's not an open-ended policy, so I think for public record, it's important to call that out. But I agree with Rich that I think the manager needs that discretion to attract and maintain, retain good staff, which we have.
Okay, excellent. All right, we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve College Township Retention Bonus Policy P-020 and authorize the manager to utilize said policy as deemed appropriate.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll take both. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None opposed. Okay. All right, moving on to new business 2. You off the hook easy, Mike.
Okay, new business 2 is our annual, PSAT's annual business meeting. They have, as they traditionally do, forwarded their list of resolutions for consideration. We've included that for council's consideration. If there are items that need discussed, our voting delegate is Susan Trainer, and certainly I'm sure she would wish for discussion on any that maybe there's some concern or questions about.
Yeah, let's just go around the horn. I think this is what we did last year, similar. Just if you want to discuss a particular one, just give the number and we'll put it on a list and we'll pull it out and discuss them. So, Tracy, is there any particular ones you want to discuss?
There is none.
Okay, Rich?
There's a couple that are in typical PSAT's fashion are awful gray. And I think when we go to the meetings, we hear more and formulate that kind of stuff. So I don't want to burden this meeting with that. We're guessing what the originator of the resolution intended. And I trust our members that are going to be attending PSATs to act from that.
Okay. And then, I don't wish to pull any, but we'll go to you, Susan,
No,
last but not least.
No.
Is there anything you want to bring to our attention?
No, and I think if there's anything you want to bring to my attention, you can do that between now and then or when we're at the conference,
Okay.
as we did last year.
So what action do we take? We authorize Susan to vote in the affirmative on these? Or to her best will?
I think it's at my discretion.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going to say,
there
we've
is no
already
action.
appointed her the delegate, so she has the authority.
Yep, there is no action. Okay, so we can go on to NB3 now.
Wait, Mike, the action was no action.
No action.
There is no action, that's the action.
All right, MB3, this one obviously has a little more detail to it, and we put together a pretty detailed memo to share out to council. I'm going to frame it up a little bit, but then I'm going to turn it over to some representatives here in the room that I'll introduce just momentarily. Just for some background, representatives from Clearwater Conservancy recently approached College Township staff with another opportunity for us to partner for additional ability to leverage additional funding support for the development of their new community conservation center in Hauserville. As you'll recall, earlier council had taken action to serve as the applicant for the redevelopment assistance capital program, or RCAP grant, on behalf of Clearwater for this exact project. The grant in question this time around is a DCNR C2P2 grant. And what makes this process a little more unique this time around is, in order to tap into a certain funding pot within the C2P2 grant, the request from Clearwater is that College Township essentially become a leaseholder to the portion of the property that will be impacted by that grant. That is a requirement from DCNR, that there is control of the property by the applicant for the grant. So that is what's kind of tripping that requirement, that if College Township were to serve as the applicant, we would also have to be a leaseholder with some level of control on the property. With that, I'm going to turn it over to representatives here from Clearwater. In the room, we have Ryan Hamilton, and online I see Mr. Ford Stryker as well as Mr. Marv Bevan, who are here to speak on behalf of the request, and then we can have some more detailed discussion. So, Ryan, I don't know if you want to kind of come to the podium first and then move from there, or how you planned it.
Thank you, Mike. Much appreciated. I think you set it up really well. I'm Ryan Hamilton. I'm a staff with Clearwater Conservancy, but I'm going to turn it over to our project managers, Ford Stryker and Marv Bevan, to kind of lay out some more details for you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Ford Stryker. I'm a volunteer with Clearwater Conservancy, and I guess I'd like to begin by, first of all, thanking the township, for their support on the RACP grant, and we have our fingers crossed that we'll have some good news there as time moves on. I'd also like to thank you for the letters of support that were generated for several other grants. So, the Conservancy really appreciates, that action. Mike teed it up really well, and I think the letter that was included in your, or the write-up that was included in your materials, kind of lays out what we're trying to do here. It's unfortunate that we have to burden you with this, but the way the program is set up, nonprofits really aren't eligible for much money under this grant, but municipalities are. And so we have an opportunity to generate about $300,000 of a grant, or up to that amount. And the grant would help pay for the parking lot and a trail that we'd like to build, an ADA accessible trail from the property down to Spring Creek, which would enable visitors to get onto the creek, and it would also avoid or maybe discourage, I guess, people from crossing Houserville Road and just walking across the field. This would provide a much more safe and easy access down to the stream. So unfortunately, the parking lot and the trail are pretty expensive, and so if we could get a grant for $300,000, that would pay for, it wouldn't pay for half of it, but it would pay for about 40% of the cost. I'd be happy to take questions if anybody has any, or I guess the other point I would make is the application is due on the 3rd of April. We have had some informal conversations with the people at DCNR, and while ideally we would have a fully executed lease, when we submitted when you submitted the applications on our behalf, they've said that as long as there's progress in that direction, I think they'll allow us to work for a little bit after the application date to finalize the lease. I think the key attachment is the map that was included in your materials, and that needs a little work. It's generally where we're thinking about having the lease, but there's some detail that needs to be added to it, and if we need to make sure that it's I'll call it a lease-ready map, and it's not quite there yet. So I think that's enough, and I'll stop and answer any questions.
I would just add a little bit more context before, Mr. Chair, before we turn it back over to council for questions. Jen, if you don't mind, could you pull that map up just so it's on the screen for everybody?
The one that was in the
Yeah.
visuals?
Yep.
You anticipated questions on the map.
Well, it ties back to the memo as well. One of the things that council will remember is going back to the end of last year, you took action on the Umberger Rockenbeck Clearwater Conservancy subdivision plan. When that was approved, there was a condition that deferred construction of sidewalks for no more than 2 years or until the land development proposal comes forward along Hauserville Road for Lot 2. As part of the discussion that evening, there was some indication that an alternative sidewalk or trail alignment could potentially be considered as a replacement for the sidewalk, the required sidewalks associated with that plan. I did want to point out that, well, as Ford acknowledged, this map that was included still needs a little bit of work. The indication was the trail system that they're referencing in this map is essentially the alternative that they're probably going to bring to the table. Something like that, if it's not exactly what is there. Just for council's complete understanding, if you do opt to move forward with the lease, it is by no means an indication or signal of approval of that, stepping away from that requirement for sidewalks. That land development process still has to occur, and that would be put to rest as part of that process. This is just helping them for the application purposes with the grant. A couple of the obligations that I just wanted to underscore, and again, it was touched on in the memo. The lease is one of the big pieces of this. We did include some draft language that had already been prepared by Clearwater that kind of is nothing more than a demonstration of what the intent is with the lease, which is essentially a hold harmless type lease for the township. Clearwater retains an awful lot of control of the property. We are a property less holder, basically in name only in terms of requirements. There are some pieces that do still need to be fleshed out in terms of easements for potential for sewer and water that may ultimately tie back to that lease. That will become a little bit more important for us as the municipality as well as the authority. But again, I just wanted to touch on that piece of it. A couple other things that for your consideration as you're thinking about this tonight. As a leaseholder, there is the potential that College Township assumes some liability associated with the property. That being the case, we anticipate that there would probably be some additional costs associated with general liability. We don't anticipate those to be significant, but it's a factor for consideration as a leaseholder. And then finally, the element of administration. Should we serve as an applicant, much like with the RACP, there would be some requirement for staff to be involved with grant administration. We are comfortable with that. There's capacity within the staff to do that. Much like RACP, Clearwater is also working with Delta Development as a consultant. They're kind of taking the heavy load in terms of the administration and application component. But again, nonetheless, there would probably be some staff hours required for this. In terms of next steps, Ford did touch on those. Should you essentially bless this concept tonight by passage of the resolution, it cues you up as the applicant and as a signal to DCNR that we are working towards a long-term lease. Clearwater, at that point, Clearwater and College Township staffs would meet with the regional advisor here from DCNR to talk through that in a little bit more detail. For the purposes of signaling that intent of leasing the property, resolution from the township carries some weight, and then what we had asked of Clearwater is to supply a letter saying, yes, they are intending to lease this parcel to the College Township as well. All of this is subject to solicitor review. Lewis, on our end, has not reviewed these documents yet because we wanted to get a close to final document in his hands. But that piece, that lease piece, is very important. Certainly DCNR is going to want to see that as part of the application, either by the deadline or shortly thereafter, probably within 4 to 6 weeks, I think would probably be the maximum that they would allow us to string that out. If we do not reach a point of comfort with the lease, then the application is essentially incomplete and would not be funded. If we do reach from a staff level a point of comfort, it comes back to you at council for a final approval on that lease. So there are still some moving pieces associated with this that I wanted to kind of frame up for you tonight. But if you are comfortable with the concept and comfortable continuing the discussion on that lease, then the action requested this evening would be the passage of the grant resolution R2418, which signifies College Township would be serving as the applicant for this DCNR grant. So with that, I will stop.
Okay, let's lead us off. Rich?
May I make one additional comment before?
Sure.
Yeah, so I just wanted to amplify one minor point. This idea was presented to the Clearwater Board this morning, and they voted to approve the idea of pursuing a lease. So I just wanted to let you know that that was formally done by Clearwater's board. So they, will be sending a letter of intent. So, thanks.
Thanks, Ford.
Thank you. Rich, questions, comments?
Conceptually, I understand what we're trying to accomplish and everything. If you told me I had to approve that lease agreement as part of this, I would not be able to vote in favor of it.
Yeah.
But conceptually, with the intent that we would revisit the lease agreement, and there's definitely some missing elements in it and everything. I could support the resolution.
Anything further? Susan?
No, I think what we're doing is just agreeing to move forward with the next steps in the process. So, no, I have no questions. I'm sorry, I do have one question. I'm so sorry. Do we have any other agreements that look like this, that we're, I know we're leasing some properties for public works, storage facility, buildings, but do we have anything, do we have any precedent for something like this? And how did that work out?
None that directly are parallel to this that I'm aware of, and I would probably defer to others that have been, Rich, and other members of staff that have been here a little bit longer, but I am not aware of anything that parallels this, where we've taken a lease for the intent of pursuing a grant like this. Now, we do have other leases on properties, but those are more specific to operations or easements associated with water lines or what have you. So this is unique.
And you mentioned liability in terms of being the leaseholder, and that's something that Lewis would look at, and our insurance, liability insurance would cover.
Ultimately, what we would do, Susan, again, if council's comfortable with the concept tonight, then we have some homework that we have to do on our end. One is that whole legal review with Lewis and tightening that language up to the point where it's meets the intent and provides the protections that are required. The other piece of that would be pursuing some discussion with our insurer to see what that liability would look like. Both of those factors will contribute to the discussion on the lease when we move forward. If it becomes an exorbitant amount for insurance cost associated with, which is not anticipated, but that would certainly be something that would weigh into the lease discussion and factor into your decision at some point, either here at the first or second meeting in April is kind of what we're targeting.
Okay, so the timeline is we're agreeing to submit the grant with Clearwater to DCNR, and then on the other side of the submission will be all the detail work on the lease and the liability and any of those things. And then at any point in that process, should we decide that that's not something we could do? Okay.
Yeah. By submission of the grant, and again, we're assuming at this point DCNR would view that favorably. It seems like they would from Clearwater's discussions, that indication of pursuit of that long-term lease is enough for the submission. But they would not consider funding that request until that lease is in hand. So if at some point through those discussions it becomes uncomfortable for one party or both, we just walk away from the lease and it's an incomplete application and would be not funded.
Well, thank you.
Tracy?
My questions were answered.
Okay, so we're actually the grant applicant.
Yes.
Okay, and we're doing this because we have a better chance of receiving the grant than Clearwater Conservancy does.
Two reasons. One, I think that helps. Being a municipality helps in terms of the ability to tap into the funds, and it also opens up a bigger pot of funds for the application. The nonprofits, I'm not certain what they're capped at. Ours is capped at 300,000. I think the nonprofits is about 100,000. So it's a bigger pot of funds that they can tap into.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's still more to know. So with tonight, if we really, we essentially are then going to apply and send the grant application through with this resolution. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. You're essentially agreeing to submit an incomplete grant application at this point.
Because it's time sensitive.
Right.
So, and we still reserve the right on the other side of that submission based on more information.
If you boiled it down to its most finite detail tonight is a gauge of your comfort of the concept. If you're not comfortable with the concept, then obviously we have to step away from the resolution.
I mean, I guess I would just say that, I mean, it is a little interesting of a concept. I'm not entirely comfortable with it, but I think I'm comfortable enough to take the first step, I think, much to what the points that were made. But yeah, I think we need to, I mean, I just foresee some heavy discussion in the lease. And I think Clearwater just should be prepared for that, probably, yeah.
Yeah, and again, if council does ultimately vote in favor of this tonight, that is that next step, and it's not an insignificant lift. There's a lot of pieces to the lease that will have to be kind of hammered out here with our solicitor to make sure we're where we need to be and have the protections that we want.
Okay. All right, so we don't need to read the entire resolution, we could just state that we approve. All right. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R-24-18, whereby College Township will serve as the applicant for this DCNR C2P2 grant application for Clearwater Conservancy.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Call to question, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed?
I oppose.
Okay. Okay, motion carries 3-1. All right, that is all of new business. Staff informatives.
Nothing that I had any intent to cover here tonight unless there were questions.
Any questions on staff informatives? All right, council staff, other matters.
Well, I just want to say, you guys are busy. Monday, you have general forum. Tuesday, you have the joint meeting. Wednesday, it's our county association meeting, if you can come. I'm not holding you to that. And Thursday, you mentioned there's a spring quick, wasn't it spring quick watch?
Yeah, that's Thursday during the day.
That's
though.
Thursday.
During the day, I was gonna say, man, you guys
Yeah.
are busy, but just as a reminder, those three things are next week.
And yeah, you don't have to attend that, obviously. But, it's definitely sought after attendance.
I wish I could.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay. We are adjourned.